What a way to start the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Lifestream number 10. I am Raw Life. I am not actually Raw Life. I am Bl'Artagnan, second co-host of the Lifestream. Raw Life is here with us, but not in a speaking capacity due to some exceptionally loud football shouting he did over the past few weekends. I am joined by my co-host, I can never say the word inimitatable right, but anyway, the unique and wonderful type Zoey. Zoey, how are you doing this week?
Hello, Blurt. I am doing just fine. I've had a pretty good week.
Do tell. I'd like to hear more about this. I didn't, so I'm I'm relying
Yeah,
on you to
we
bring the
were
positive energy this stream.
commiserating, so I'll try and be the good vibes for the show this week, especially since we're missing the vibe master himself. I actually went out to like a bar for the first time in a very long time, which was fun. Kind of forgotten what that was like. Met a couple cool people. And yeah, I just had a good weekend. My cousins came over and we played some Smash Bros. It was good stuff overall.
Well, that does sound like a lovely time. I hope you crushed them. I know you've been. I don't know if you've been. I know a number of people in the Lily Pad have been kind of just beating each other up in Smash. I didn't know if you were among those.
Me and Leafblade have actually been playing Melty Blood, which is a different fighting game that just released.
Oh yeah, I used to play. I played that with my college friends a while back. Oh, one of the older versions. It's pretty cool. What do you
It's
think?
pretty fun. I am playing this like tiny kung fu girl who has all these crazy punches and kicks and like an RKO type elbow drop or something. I don't know. She's pretty awesome.
Well, that sounds spectacular. I will say we should probably save this for the fighting game podcast overall, but I did ask you to speak on it. So.
Yeah, gonna have to get Mino and BC on for that one.
Yeah, well, that'll be for the next time, buddy. Next time. Yeah.
How was your week? I know not as exciting, probably.
Just a lot of stress, a lot of planning stress, a lot of figuring things out, a lot of real life stress. I'm actually lined up for a promotion at work, which is awesome and exciting, and means a whole lot more responsibility. It means dialing back in other areas of my life to kind of keep up with that pace, which is why I did not put out a should you pull for Cinque. I'm probably going to have to pull back on the should you pulls, which kind of sucks, but them's the breaks. Hello, GRW18. Good to see you, Dave. Dave, buddy Dave, our good friend Dave. How you doing? Welcome to Lifestream. It's good to see you here.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good here. Gonna get into some Lufenia Plus. Got the new difficulty. We finally had 2 fights now, which is pretty exciting. Sup, Cope Mellow? Your buddy Raw, not here today. Well, here today, but not here.
Our temporary chat mod of Raw Life.
He's on injury reserve for this week. We're gonna pull him off the bench next week.
Exactly. Although you mentioned Lufenia Plus, that is kind of the news of the day, isn't it? We're here, and God, it sucks. I mean, like I said, it's been a week, but we've entered the new era, the long promised, the much maligned, often feared Lufenia Plus era. So, I mean, the usual, like, so how do you feel about this kind of format? It doesn't really work as well when it's 2 people. So I'm just going to get into this.
Let's just talk about it, yeah.
Yeah. So Raw's going to go ahead and do some co-ops in the background for those of you watching and not listening at home. But we started off our Lufenia Plus adventure with Divine Pandemonium. And I find those Divine Summons are always those fights are always wake-up calls, I find. Even Divine Ramu, which was kind of a gimme fight, had like, if you weren't using a strict delay team, it like had some serious like curveball mechanics it threw at you.
Yeah, that's partly because I was pretty new, but Divine Ramu was, I think, the first run I ever recorded for YouTube, and I found that fight pretty difficult.
Yeah, no, it was easily crushed, but if you didn't, it was one of those fights where like, I describe them as hot and cold fights. There's certain fights where like, if you bring the intended or certain unintended strategies, you crush it and it's kind of effortless. In this case, delay, really just kind of launch delay, that kind of stuff, really just kind of dumpstered it. But if you try to interact with it, it really just kind of crushes you and makes you feel really bad. So speaking of fights like that, we have Divine Pandemonium, which is actually a very similar fight in that regard, because
Definitely.
Technically speaking, you don't need to delight him into oblivion. You can interact with mechanics if you so choose, but in my experience, it punishes you pretty hard if you do go that route. Did you asking the question of if you interacted with mechanics and did anything other than like zero turning feels like we're skipping over the important part.
So I went for a low turn, but not quite a zero turn, but I didn't encounter many of the mechanics just because I was trying to do a no synergy. This fight with Zidane LD and without Zidane LD is a very different beast, and I think that the Lufenia Plus, the early fights especially, are going to be big synergy bias, and the devs got pretty good at it for the beginning of these couple months before the roster starts to catch up a little bit, and then the fights even out, and you have more options, but this is kind of why I recommend to new players to be pulling a lot, and just to everybody in general, for the early Luf Plus, because you kind of want to use your resources on the harder eras, so that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Really, I think front-loading your roster for, at the beginning of the era makes a lot of sense for that reason, because generally speaking, the stuff at the start is going to age pretty well going into it. I mean, everyone talks about Cloud during Chaos, and I look back to Cosmos and stuff like Vayne and Renoa. Those aged very well during the course of that era, and then even Lufenia, you have Lightning, you have Gladiolus, Warrior of Light. Those guys did very well for themselves, the kind of early Lufenia All-Stars. But yeah, no, definitely the with without Zidane experience was very different. Because, and I don't want to go too deep into fight mechanics, the short version is the fight emphasizes deletion, turn deleting. You either want to do that to manage the orb, or you can get around the orb. The orb has a secondary +1 mechanic, which I thought was a great design choice. I like orbs where it has like the clear, this is what you're supposed to do, delete, +10 to the orb. Or if you feel like being creative or challenging yourself, here's like an alternate condition you can use to either pad yourself, pad it out, or to just kind of try to challenge yourself. I thought that was a really neat design decision there.
Yeah, both the fights this week had that secondary orb condition.
Oh, and before I'm kind of getting into my talking here, but thank you, Comello, for the sub. I know Raw already thanked you in the stream, but I want to thank you myself for that. And Excalibur, welcome. It's good to see you. Hello, friends. Always good to see you guys. But yeah, so I honestly, I've had very little opportunity to really experiment and play around with these two fights because of the stuff I've been juggling. But so I wanted to ask in terms of what you've been seeing and what you've been trying. Have you been seeing a whole lot of variety in these fights? Let's start with Pandemonium. We haven't gotten to the second fight yet, but I know that I know Goose did a no friend Von BT mid-Italian Agris run, which was dope. Because he's crazy.
I've seen some cool variety. I think that Core has kind of opened up team building on the global side of things in a pretty significant way, that a lot of different strategies are much easier to pull off with his facilitation. And that has kind of sparked at least a good portion of extra teams we might not have seen without him. But there's also been non-core teams that have been cool. I ran Paladin, Cecil, Queen, and Cloud of Darkness for my Pandemonium run, which is kind of a different route to a low boss turn run. And so I did need the immediate Italian LD call, because if Pandemonium has the wind aura up and the tornado is spinning around it, that means delays don't work, which is how I prevent it from blowing me up. So that's why I needed the Ami LD call and a Zidane friend, but otherwise that team did pretty well, I think. My COD was hitting pretty hard at the end of the fight still. I got probably average of 7k brave hits on the skills and 10k on the EX and the laser, so I was pretty proud of that.
Yeah, I remember when COD dropped and released, I was like many people pretty lukewarm on COD in the main party, because I was like, okay, it's just basically a slightly updated Lightning with a really neat burst effect. It doesn't outperform. And then I realized two things after I really kind of had my formal opinion out there, and I kind of slapped myself in the face, because 50% crit damage up?
Yeah, 50%.
Yeah, which is an insane multiplier for brave damage. And I'm saying to myself, this is just a better Lightning, and not thinking about the absurdity of saying that as if it's just a better Lightning. So I thought, yeah, COD in the main party you've been demonstrating is actually quite powerful, and I really underestimated it. So I can go ahead and take that L, as they say.
Yeah, I think for some reason, I think there was a narrative like not to pull COD just for the BT plus, which I think is fair, but that kind of leaked over into COD as a unit itself and didn't give it the fairest of shakes, I think. And I've just been like, those tempo type characters, the ones you have to pace sort of, are my favorite types to play, stuff like COD and Eldar. So they really fit into like my preferred characters. So I've been running them a lot, and I was happy to bust them out for Luf Plus.
Yeah, and the Paladin Cecil too. He's aged pretty darn well, I gotta say.
Yeah, he still holds up. That's like 50% brave damage plus enchant, so can't complain about that.
Sorry, Worry Chat is just the real big move right there with the Reno in the co-op. That might not have been intentional, but it was very funny.
Should have kept it, honestly. I think it would have been great.
And also, just a shout out to those of you listening at home. Excalibur has just released his infographic for the Guy Lufenia Plus stage. If you're not aware, Excalibur does these fantastic infographics for fights where he kind of breaks down the mechanics and the thresholds and stuff in a very succinct and clear way. Really, probably one of the best and most digestible ways to take in what a fight entails, because God knows the boss mechanics screen isn't going to do it. He has dropped the Reddit link in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that is included on the VOD in the description for those of you who end up listening to this after the fact, because I can't recommend these infographics enough. I've affectionately named Excalibur the professor of the DFO community, and
I love that.
The man is just he is a treasure, and he's a gift who keeps on giving. So I can't gush enough about him. But Excalibur, thank you for the services you provide. Gonna try to signal boost this, because this is just something every player should really see.
For real, man. I have one person in real life I know who plays this game. They don't live in my state, but I went to high school with them and stuff, and I sent them Excal's infographics because they're not like super in touch with like the communities and stuff. So it's just a super helpful way for new players to kind of see what they really need to know, but it also leaves room for players to improve their own skills and kind of learn the fights. It's not like a step-by-step guide, which like copying a YouTube run can be cool if you're struggling, but it doesn't really teach you the game except for muscle memory. Like, I think that XCal's guides bridge a really nice balance between being very helpful, but also leaving the players room to grow. So that's really cool.
Yeah, no, I agree there. Definitely, like, it gives you the information you need to make informed decisions without like holding your hand through. Here are the steps you take, which I appreciate very much.
Definitely.
So we could honestly, I'd be fine spending the next hour or so just talking about how awesome Excalibur is. I don't know if that's what he's into and if that's what your plan for the evening was, but
it'd be a little too much flattery for one person.
Okay, yeah, I know. Joking. But let's see. So that's for guys. The one I'll post is for Guys Lufenia, since that's the most recent one. But we'll get to that in a second.
Who did you run for Pandemonium?
So I did 3 runs. One of my runs, I will straight up say, I straight up copied Goose's Agrius Immediatalian Agrius run, or Agrius Immediatalian Von run. I don't normally try to copy runs straight up, but I was curious to see if going Red Spiral over White World for most of the fight would help. And what I learned is if you have a blue Vaughn, which he does and I don't, it makes a difference. Short version, I tried to do some science and completely failed to take into account the variables were different, because I am a man of science after all.
You didn't set the equivalencies. That's just bad science, man.
It was bad science. I did some bad science. I didn't convert metric to imperial. He's in the UK, I'm here in the US, so that was also another failure on my part. So
lost in translation.
I'm pretty sure I forgot to go to the currency exchange, so I have a bunch of pounds in my pocket now. No one here is accepting them, so it was a nightmare. But aside from that, I did a couple of Zidane runs. I did Zidane, Agrius, and then I won with 2 runs with Zidane and Agrius, and then the other party members were Beatrix. I did that as just kind of a fun synergy stomp because I love those characters, and Extet, which worked, and I'm glad I did it, but it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't think I really proved the point here, because honestly, clocking in at 79 turns out of 80 doesn't really show that a character is great in a given stage.
Yeah,
Cross 13 had a much more powerful Extet run that I think showcased the character a bit better.
I've seen a lot of Xdeath friend usage, but not a ton of him for Pandemonium in the party. I think that Guile C is a fight that he can have a little more room to work with, and there's more meaning to his mitigation for this fight, so might be a better time for him to shine. I've only seen a couple Xdeath runs, but they've been pretty cool.
Yeah, right now, he doesn't generally enjoy zero boss turn style fights, because outside of his burst effect, he's always been very, enemy turn focused, and that continues. Although it was kind of fun in the Pandemonium fight, the nice thing about him was his EX buff was able to protect us from the recast, which was kind of neat. So that was kind of cute. I got to enjoy that and gloat about it. And then I realized afterwards that I almost missed the turn count because I was using a character that isn't designed for this fight. So, take that for what it is. Yeah. That being said, Beatrix is awesome, and I'm going to enjoy using her a lot.
I actually haven't given my Beatrix
I just want to call attention to the stream again. Worry Chad with the incredible power move. He's a Zidane guy now. I know Raw Life was a Zidane guy, but now Worry Chad's a Zidane guy. He's hopping in there with the level 50, steep, the crystal level 19, bronze Zidane with a single summon board master. That is... what a flex.
It's a good he has that summon board, or else he might run into damage problems.
That is powerful stuff. Yeah, no, really, I think Zidane really just needs the one summon board to be able to contribute to a fight. So exactly. I think these guys are going to be just fine. God, what a power move. That was very impressive, Chad. So where were we? So these characters. We got actually quite a few characters this time around. Did we? We didn't go last week, so
I don't think we did.
Then let's do this quickly. I don't really like doing this.
We can rapid fire these.
Almost a week old at this point. What was that?
We can rapid fire these. It's not.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think that hasn't been said already by other people.
Yeah, no, this is super old news for the sake of completion, so we can't say that we skipped it. Renoa got boosted numbers. Her Brave and HP Angel attacks hit harder. Her auras are slightly better. And they gave her buff start so she doesn't have to do that awkward thing where she goes LD into EX at the start of the fight. She actually can just straight up EX, and it feels right. I used to enjoy playing Renoa quite a bit. I haven't really gotten a chance to pull her out, bust her out since she got her LD boards here, but I'm hopeful that it makes her at least usable. I don't think it's certainly nothing that I'd recommend pulling for in this case, which is sad because I think she's great, but what I like to call these are modernizing changes.
I got her in the free pull, so this is just an upgrade to my roster for no cost, which is always the best. I've seen a couple Pandemonium Renoa runs. I think Mark actually did Zidane, Beatrix, Renoa, which was triple synergy, but it's World of Illusions, so that doesn't mean quite as much. And she did fine as an Aura bot. I really wish they updated her Angelo, Brave Plus, and HP Plus, because it feels really bad as she's if she's sitting without her Angel stacks and you're just kind of clicking these mediocre single dump buttons. It's not great, to be honest.
Yeah, it's weird because with a character like that, you don't want her to be too strong. You don't want both of her stances to be too strong, because then you have a character like she was on release where she was just great all over. I guess she was mostly just a mage on release. Thinking back,
that was her EX Plus, right? Was when she was really good.
Well, no, she was her base EX is when she released, and she was kind of the new power creep as far as mages went at that point. We didn't call them mages
Sky,
anymore.
how's it going?
Howdy, Sky Slits. Yeah, so it was EX back then, but yeah, she's been kind of okay since then, and I feel like she started off really high, redefining kind of what it meant to deal damage, and kind of dropped off since then, which is a little sad. But okay, so anyway, a rapid fire. We're going to continue jumping through this. We like us to Renoa. Unfortunately, it seems Squix doesn't in this case. Hopefully, she hasn't gotten 90 yet, has she?
She's not. I'm thinking she's going to get a BT pretty soon, and they're saving it for that. That's my guess.
That makes a lot of sense. Dissidia candidate, or Dissidia rep, so first candidate. That would be cool. So Beatrix got LD boards and did not get the GL shaft.
No, she got the goods. This is one of the best LD board editions, I think.
And I am thrilled, because I think Beatrix is probably my, I want to say, 4th favorite character in this game. So I'm very into this.
Yeah, so the TLDR behind Beatrix's upgrades are she has debuff start at the beginning of the fight, which gives her instant access to her follow-up that is also now a counter, which is a really big spike in her damage because it's not just going to be limited to her turns. And I believe the follow-up is now elemental, so it takes advantage of her imperil too. So it's got the ignore defense, now it's got weakness. It's just really, really good. And she has some awesome synergy. She's got good battery for Lufenia Plus standards, and she does it a lot because it happens on the off turns. So with like some encouragement armor, you're really getting a lot of mileage from her counter. And Beatrix is just like a character that seems like her kit meshes super well. She has all these roles that you wouldn't think to put them on the same character, but then once you put it together and see it in action, I think she plays super nicely.
Yeah, no, she has a lot of pieces that they really for me tied together a lot of what made her kit kind of awkward in the past. Because I mean they gave the Thunder enchant throughout the kit, so that removes the awkwardness of having that mixed kit. It also increases brave damage on Thunder Slash, which is cool. We'll come back to that in a second. It gave her the Imperil on the LD, which is kind of funny now because the guy fights. I wanted to use her in the guy fight, and then I realized, oh shoot, Imperil immune, damn it. And so that was really cool. The debuff now also does 20% defense down and 20% brave damage, brave damage up. That's it, brave damage up.
There you go.
So functionally, like Thunder Slash, which is going to be the move you're going to be spamming the most, is going to be basically had its brave damage increased by 40% as a small bonus. I don't know how the math tricks out, but I thought that was a neat little thing. And of course, the biggest thing is that now her LD attack, which is stronger than it was, is a counter, which is tremendous because she's a slow character, and having her thing be a follow-up attack was just kind of awkward and bad. So I'm over the moon about this. I think she's just going to be a fantastic value pickup. I've been going back and forth because I mean at this point again, kind of old news. Character came out about a week ago or whatever. But people are, I've heard discussion about like whether you should recommend this character to a player who could like do like one pity during the month or something like that. And it's a weird call because I feel like I don't think Beatrix is going to be straight up flat out stronger than a BT or BT plus character, but I feel like she might potentially end up having more use cases as like a filling a slot in a team going forward. Like in my head, the argument is kind of similar to the pulling for Jack call argument or pulling for Kurasame call, where like she's probably not going to carry your team to the same extent that like an Ace or a Zidane or a Bart is going to carry your team for the next few months. But I could definitely see her slotting into a bunch of different team comps over the course of the next 3 to 4 months or whatever. I plan on trying to make that happen personally.
Yeah, so, the best way I like to describe it to new players, like in main court or whatever, is that I would probably put Beatrix in the power level as if she was a newly released LD and not that she's just getting upgrades, because usually the past characters who get upgrades won't quite be on the same level as the new characters, and Beatrix very much is on that level, so that's kind of like the easiest way for me to describe it to people who might not be experienced with Beatrix's kit.
That's a great way to sum it up. She also gets a solid C90, so we know her future is pretty bright. So I think I'd say we're not trying to be a should you pull stream or anything like that. So I'm not going to go into you should go for you shouldn't go for her. But it's a difficult place because you look at the BT pluses that we're saying, and those are the things that are going to power spike you through this hard content. I don't think Beatrix is going to carry you through the next few fights by herself. But once you've secured that solid kind of carry character, you got your Zidane, you've greened your Barts or whoever it is you're using, she might be a very strong consideration for kind of a flex slot to go alongside that. I'm not sure, though. Then again, I'm also strongly biased.
I could totally see it. It's also like Zidane is good for the cycle, and he's good after too. So if you don't have either of them, it's just a really good banner to go for.
Yeah, it is. There aren't too many banners that we're going to be seeing where both characters are characters you would like to get. So there's something to that.
Definitely. Okay, should we do the BT characters really quick?
Oh god, do we have to? Okay, fine. So Y'shtola got some LD board rework, which basically gave her modern auras attached to her Ivory conditional, which is a bunch of jargon. So to break that down, what that means is basically her auras are better for characters who start their turn at or above their initial brave value. If they go above initial brave after turn start, doesn't matter. And if they start with some brave but not enough, doesn't get it. So she's great in like a regen or battery based team. Gonna have a harder time with a character like for instance, I brought her in as a friend during one of my Zidane runs, and Zidane dumps his brave every turn, and there's no refund associated with that. And then so he'll on his consecutive turns he just doesn't have access to Y'shtola's auras, and so that wasn't the greatest. So it does require a bit more thought than usual, but there's some potent auras, HP damage up, brave damage up, overflow, the good shit. She also got a rework. Well, not a rework. Her BT plus gave her the goods, I guess is how I'll say it. Some returning BT pluses are a little underwhelming. Hers is not. That's the first returning BT plus.
Not at all.
Yeah, if I remember right, the duration of the BT effect goes from 6 to 10, which is humongous, because 6 was very short for a character with high turn rate and instant turn rate actions. The 10 turns is a lot better, especially with green, you could do it twice. She gets, I want to say, Brave Overflow and 50% Brave Gain Up, which is the biggest amount of Brave Gain Up that we're going to be seeing for as far ahead into the future as I've looked, is what I would say. So she's basically the go-to character for parties who want to rely on Brave gains. And that's which is a valid strategy you can use to get through these Lufenia Plus fights. Alphanod Leveler on YouTube has been kind of the poster child for that. He does all that big brain,
the flagship Brave Gain Up character. Yeah, he has done every Lufenia, I'm pretty sure, with Y'shtola. So if you want to see what the Brave Gain memes can do, just check out his channel real quick. And yeah. I really like Y'shtola's, even her rework, which is or her LD board extension, which is not the most important part of her kit, still makes her feel a lot better to play. When I got Y'shtola on her BT cycle, I really didn't understand the character and what her kit was supposed to mesh, and especially making the LD instant turn and giving it full stacks of the Blood Lily just makes that button so much more fun to push rather than kind of feeling useless other than the rebreak. So I'm really a fan of what they did to Y'shtola, and she and Bart's are kind of the poster children for the returning BT pluses. Which is, and I guess Cloud of Darkness too, which is pretty funny that all of those are so front-loaded, and then they start becoming a little more hit and miss afterwards.
Yeah, I mean that. I'm guessing the reason for that is either the most optimistic kind of assumption case I can make there is that they wanted players to have access to some BT pluses in the event they didn't have resources to pull for a Zidane or for Ace, but they need characters strong enough to be able to get through. And then from there, it's okay, well, we don't want characters just coasting on their already pulled BTs for the rest of the year. We want people to be pulling for the new shinies. So that's why the characters, after that, presumably got a little bit less juice. I also completely forgot when talking about Y'shtola's reworked LD boards, the improvements to the way her LD works, because Sion's Holy is now instant turn, as you said, and maxes out her Blood Lily stacks, and both Sion's Arrow and a Flatus Misery hit a bunch harder. It is Misery, I feel it. Which is great, because Y'shtola, even now with this rework, these changes, her auras have never been the best, and so she's had to rely on other things as a support to kind of stand out. She relies on her battery, her healing, her turn control effects, and now she contributes a not insignificant amount of damage. Not an overwhelming amount, but for a support, it's like, hey, this, that hit pretty hard, pretty great. Dystopia Bard, I see you in the chat there. Welcome.
Hey, Bard. Yeah, I'm a big fan. I didn't end up greening Y'shtola, but I played around with her rework a little bit, just in the Chaos and the challenge quest and stuff, and it plays really nicely. So I'm sure I've seen way more green Y'shtolas on my friend list than green Zidane. Sorry, Raw Life, but it seems like she's the more popular of the two this cycle.
It seems that way. I have seen a few Zidanes, but definitely seeing more Y'shtolas and finding. I keep picking them because I'm like, oh, green, and then realizing that it's not that exciting. Being able to use a burst effect twice isn't that exciting when it only lasts 5 turns. So I actually am a little unimpressed there as a friend, but that's not really the point. I've been tempted to do the green, and I might end up doing it. We'll see.
She's yeah, I wouldn't say she's as useful of a friend universally as like Yuna, for example, who I think is like kind of the standard damage booster friend, unless you're doing something more specialized that wants like Zidane or Xdeath or whoever. But you can certainly make her work, and there are characters who will love the 50% Brave gain up, even on a friend unit, so it just depends on your team as usual.
Speaking of making units work and dragging a character through every Lufenia Plus from here on out, you want to run us through Zidane?
Yeah, I can do Zidane. We should probably wrap these up fast. So Zidane is the turn deletion king. Nobody in the game has ever deleted like him, and nobody will, probably. I can't really see how he will lose this niche unless somebody crazy comes out. So the biggest thing behind him is the new LD, which gives him an overhead. I forget what it's called. Raw's going to kill me because I haven't played FF9. But every break he does, he's going to delete the enemy's turn. A place to call home, thank you. And the thing behind this is makes him like so consistent is his LD is a rebreak, but he also has consecutive turns off the rebreaks, which you can use on his multiple instant turn rate skills or his additional ability to then get another break and get more deletions. So the way you play Zidane is you kind of just go in for the breaks, you stall for a turn, be it with like an AA, he has a special HP plus that also has a rebreak and a delete on it, which you want to save. And then you have Mug, which comes off the EX, I think.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, that's right. And he got like some reworks to his skills. He doesn't hit insanely hard, I would say. He hits decently, but that's not like the biggest selling point for him. He's kind of a jack of all trades character, and the BT leans into that a little bit with some good brave damage boosters. He gets a battery and healing effect, which happens because he gets kind of the rude overhealing into battery mechanic. Does any other character in the game have that besides Rude and Zidane BT?
I think right now those are the only two. It's kind of been Rude's gimmick until now. And I love the flavor of it because the flavor of it is that when he's using the burst, he steals an elixir and then gives it the party, which full heals them. I think that's just when they put stuff like that in the game, it makes you think, oh yeah, okay, good. This is a game designed for Final Fantasy fans to enjoy.
Some girl is saying Furion has the overhealing to battery as well. I can't confirm that. I don't have Furion, but she's usually right, so I'm going to trust her.
Whatever. We don't care about Furion until he gets his BT plus anyway.
Exactly. Furion is a dead character. Shout out Sinewave. Is there anything else to go over with Zidane? He's really consistent at the deletion. You can do a bunch of no-boss turns with him. However, some of the reason people aren't quite as high on Zidane is that his auras with his BT aren't quite party carry level, and his damage also isn't like main DPS level, I would say. So he's kind of this in-between, and there are fights coming up where turn deletion is not going to be the path of least resistance. They're mostly in Vane's cycle, but there are also going to be a couple more where you can't just strictly zero turn them. And that has kind of dimmed him a little bit, and I would probably agree that he's the least good. I don't want to say bad, because Zidane is not a bad character, he's a good one. But probably the person I would rank on a pure power level the lowest of the greens this month, but doesn't mean anything. Green your favorites, and you can use them all. Like, somebody has run Zidane in every fight in JP, so...
Yeah, I mean, I love Zidane's kit after playing with him for a bit now and getting a feel for him, because it... I feel like I'm just kind of aping Mino at this point, but which is kind of a monkey joke, and I'm sorry, Raw, that was uncalled for. But I do really like how you have a lot of choices when you play Zidane. He feels like a very flexible kind of turn stealer. It kind of reminded me. This is going to be kind of a bad example, but when I was first learning how to play Lightning, it reminded me of playing Lightning, where like I think it wasn't a good example there because like the two choices were basically you either hit or you re-break with the AA, but playing a turn stealing character where like you are actually having to think about, okay, do I want to use the HP plus for the special HP plus to get a re-break? Do I use Mug now to refresh my free turn? Because you could do that, get the free turn, use Mug, hey, free turn right after that. Do you want to just turn rate? All sorts of things you can do. And I think he does respectable damage. Not amazing, but what I was noticing is when I'm able to get him when he starts to turn at high brave, because he does the multiple dumps with refund shtick. His damage was pretty respectable, especially considering that he was getting a free turn right after that. That said, there's synergy bias is a thing.
Yeah, out of synergy, I don't think his damage is going to be anything special. It's pretty fine right now for these fights.
Yeah. And the one thing I would say is that people are talking about him being the worst of the 4 BT plus candidates for greening, and I think that in a vacuum, yes, he's probably the one least likely to just kind of let you coast through content in a team agnostic sense. I think the other 3 are going to fit a bit better. Yish probably, honestly, maybe not. You might need to build around Yish a bit more, but that's because a lot of his power is built into the LD there. It's that delete utility and along with the turn jumping stuff or turn stealing stuff which people already have. He's not the only one to get the multiple free break shenanigans going on. So I feel like, if I had to pick one person to green, he'd probably be the last one I pick, which is a weird way to phrase that.
It's interesting that Zidane and Ace have most of their power tied in their LDs, and the BTs are like extra goodies. And I guess it kind of makes sense that the BT plus returner characters are the ones that need the green more, because it's the only touch up they usually get. So
yeah,
that makes sense, but it's not really the case going forward. Like Vayne, for example, absolutely needs his green if you want him to be like a carry style unit that you can build around. So that's a nice part of Zidane, is that you don't have to go for the full invest, and he's going to be super useful for his cycle, and if you ever need to do a no turn or some turn delete utility with some nice debuffs in the future. So that's a nice part of Zidane.
Yeah, I think he brings a lot, and he's good to have. Whether or not you green, I think you'll survive without greening him though, and that's pretty important, since these green things aren't going to be super plentiful at any point soon. So
choose.
It's a nice balance for me where he's good enough that if you like Zidane, you can green him, and you're not going to suffer in the same sense that I'm suffering greening Golbez.
I'm right with you with Toto, so we will be green together.
But at the same time, I think the entire purpose of this discussion of who is the worst is specifically to inform newer players or players with strapped resources who don't have the access to the character, who aren't trying to
skeptic counts. You can do 1 pull a month or 2 pulls at most a month.
Exactly, and so that's where this kind of discussion of we're not trying to shit on Zidane fans and say, oh, he's a bad character. He's not bad. It's just that if we're talking to someone who isn't going to be affected by the emotionally I just want a character who can help me carry through content, he's probably the one who would present the most problems if they ended up greening him.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So we've talked for long enough about this terrible fight that Raw is stuck on. I definitely noticed at one point he did definitely use Mug when he was in order to break, and got a free turn off Mug, which meant he could have broken with anything but Mug and then gotten a free turn off Mug after. So that did happen on the stream, and I watched it happen. I didn't say anything at the time because I was being polite, but I'm now done being polite. Sorry, Raw. Let's leave him in. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, Toto unfortunately does kind of get the shaft usually on her reworks, which is unfortunate, but I've used her as a call a decent amount, I guess.
I don't think that's going to justify greening her, Zoe. I'm sorry.
Kind of coping right now pretty hard.
Yeah.
What's up, RBK? How's it going?
Howdy, RBK. Good to see you. So let's leave Raw in this terrible windy place that he now finds himself, and go on to more. We're moving from from wind to earth. I can only assume fire's next. Is Jack coming soon? I assume fire's coming after.
Jack's in a couple months, and I was always a big Toph fan instead of Aang, so I like Earth.
Kind of ironic that now that September's gone, Earth, Wind, and Fire are on the way. Weird.
They really planned it for that old band.
I appreciate that kind of foresight. Thanks, Wex. Gao, the other Earth Guy lost chapters upon us, and he got basically nothing. He got just his high armor. Is that all he got? And that means we don't have to talk about
and nothing else, which is pretty rough. Because
Guy allegedly speak Lufenia. I've been told. I haven't experienced it myself.
There are a couple Guy clears I've seen. They're mostly carrying him, but Earth Enchant is nice for the fight, I guess. So it's not like the worst carry job ever.
Okay, well, I'm glad he's contributing.
Yeah, I think that's about all we need to say about Guy, to be honest.
And as far as I know, that's the only character on the banner, right?
Yeah, just Guy. Nobody else. Nobody I've been hyping for weeks or anything like that.
You took that very well. With that out of the way, you want to tell us about Cinque?
I would love to tell you about Cinque.
Please do.
So, Cinque, the mace wielder of Type 0, has gotten her LD. It is amazing. Well, I might be showing some levels of personal bias here. We can get some TOTSUGEKIs in the chat, maybe. But she got an LD, and it fixes a lot of her problems, or her supposed problems, because I did not have her, because she is an ancient character, and she hasn't been on banners for like a year, apparently. So her LD is Gaia Pulse, and it provides her with a skill that has 2 Brave Hits, 6 Dumps, which is pretty powerful if you pump it with a lot of HP damage up. And the big thing is it gives her a new buff that applies a follow-up on all of her attacks. So every time she does an attack, if you have the 5 stun stacks total on the enemies, she's going to do her little Totsugeki, and she's going to swing her mace, she's going to do a double dump, and it's going to apply an incredible debuff with, I believe, 100 defense down and 30% attack or HP damage up. Is that numbers right? I think it is.
That sounds about right. I honestly,
I'm checking the compendium. It is right. But basically, Cinque still has her gimmick of self-delaying and doing a ton of damage on her turns. However, they fixed a lot of the awkwardness in her kit because her follow-up applies stun to 3 stacks on the attack. That means that you can pretty much always keep her plus skills up if you're managing them correctly in a multiple enemy fight. And you do have 2 uses of her AA, which can help you kind of recover from mistakes. Yeah, Compendium is a little tricky, GRW. It takes some time to learn where the passives are. But the basic things you want behind Cinque are you want to apply some good Brave damage up, because that's where the majority of her damage comes from on her LD. But you can get away with refunds on her home run swing, has some really big ones in between its triple dumps. And her EX is actually very nice for a DPS character, which is pretty rare in this aura. I think it's like in the Garland and Aroha levels where you actively like want to press it as soon as it's up in order to be doing damage. So it's just like the recast should be a button that's a focal part of the kit, which is a big change I like for C90, and they started doing the EX extensions, but Cinque's already has the good stuff on it, so hers can only get better from here. And those are the basics behind her. You kind of want to spam the home run swing at the beginning and then use her Earthquake right before the EX is charged, because the Earthquake dispels stun on both enemies, and then the EX or the LD can put it back up to 5 stacks on each enemy, so that's like your basic rotation. Yeah, unfortunately, her LD call doesn't have the follow-up attached to it because it's from the boards. It does delay, so I think it's useful, kind of similar to Cypher Call, I guess. Not as good debuffs, but if you don't have Cypher, it could be helpful. I don't know. Did you get Cinque, Blart?
I actually did. I wasn't planning on it, but I got her LD on the free pull, and I already had her EX, so that was pretty cool. I only used her in the challenge quest, and I was like, this character looks like it's going to be dumb. She delays herself. This is going to be tough. I'm not going to enjoy this. And then I just got the first TOTSUGEKI, and I was like, okay, I'm sold. I'm very into this. I also can't do that again because my cat will kill me. Yeah. Sorry, what was that?
I'm glad you did that, so I didn't have to. We should get Raw Life to do some TOTSUGEKIs real quick. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I can't do it. Oh god, no, she's staring daggers at me right now. Oh god, I'm in trouble now. But also as a quick, actually jumping back a ways, I realize I'm remiss in something. Excalibur reminded me that Beatrix with her LD boards now has the ability to cheese Divine Alexander, which is kind of hilarious. So if you want more information about that, you can look up Excalibur's YouTube video on the subject if you just check out his channel, which I will include in the description. He has a pretty informative and entertaining video on cheesing Divine Alexander with Beatrix. Anyway, so Cinque. Jesus. Yeah, no, I pulled her LD. She seems fun. I have no idea how to use her, but I'm like, hey, 30% HP damage up, follow-ups, TOTSUGEKIs, this is great. What's not to like? At the end of the day, this game's all about pressing fun buttons, isn't it? And I love pressing fun buttons, and she brings those.
She has, like, I think every button in her kit is fun to push except for Earthquake. Like, Home Run Swing, Rolling Maze, Gaia Pulse, all those three, they feel so nice. And she has some obvious synergies with Aphmau, who normally would have released in between her and Sid Reigns. So that's going to be the prime partner, I think, for a lot of people to get her to her fullest potential, because the way it works is that Cinque is still going to be doing some self-delays, but Aphmau is just going to keep warping her, so she's a really good way to maximize the turns of Tactical Switch in a way that some other characters might not be able to. Reigns, obviously, is another one who can keep his fake turn, his real turn, far away in the turn order, because he can just keep pulling Aphmau herself back up, but we don't have to get into Reigns right now. I'm sure we will do all about that next week, because he is the talk of the town right now. But yeah, I have done some crazy numbers with Cinque. I think I got a 1.5 million LD in my Lufenia clear for the guy, so I'm having a lot of fun with her. It's synergy biased, but she's hitting real hard. I'm very happy.
I mean, she just stole Barrett's thunder there. I thought Barrett's whole deal was just that he had a LD that hits real hard.
Yeah, she might have taken it over. Actually, Barrett's is probably easier to pump because he has the refunds, and that's the one thing about the LD, is that it can be kind of not underwhelming, but just like average, I think, if you don't have a lot of HP damage up in your team, because there's no refunds in between her 6 dumps, so it's only the brave hits are giving her the bravery, so you do have to worry about that a little bit.
Yeah. Also, congratulations to Raw Life, who managed to complete World of Illusions Divine Pandemonium with Zidane BT Green, Setzer, and Yuna. It was a hard-fought victory, which Zidane almost ran out of skills. We're very proud of it. Excalibur,
yeah.
thank you for showing up here. Always a pleasure to have you on. We'll see you around.
Bye, Excal. Yeah, good job to Raw for not having to talk at the same time. Might help his Lufenia gameplay, so let's see how he does on the Guy Lufenia, which I would say is significantly harder than Pandemonium.
I think so. Can we get some shouting Raw Life emotes in the chat, please, to celebrate Raw Life's victory here and his inevitable demise in the Guy fight?
Let's get those Raw Lives. Wow, I don't have access to them. Such a bad co-host.
So this Guy fight, I just cleared it like a couple hours before the stream, because it's been, as I said, it's been a few days. But yeah, what do you think? Okay, I guess what do we have to say about this fight? So the reductions are brutal.
This fight is kind of the first real introduction into Lufenia Plus, I would say. What's up, Arrow? Welcome. Good to have you. And Pandemonium has the synergy fights that all the World of Illusions do, like all the Divine fights, so it was kind of cheating a little bit for really seeing what the Lufenia Plus numbers look like if you're not running a full synergy team. And Gaia LC is very much in the fuck you are not going to hit for numbers unless you pump them really hard. So I think it was a bit of a wake-up call for people, and yeah, there's still a decent amount of variety I've seen in the first couple days of beating this fight, but it was definitely a tougher challenge to crack than Pandemonium, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it has the same mechanics as the original Guy Lost Earth event as well, where basically they go berserk and for 3 turns just kind of spam out brutal HP attacks, if you let them have turns, which is not something you have to do, as I found. But the orb, for just, I guess, for covering our bases, is it gains +4 when you damage them while they have an HP debuff on them, like a Gilbranth call or a Cinque LD follow-up attack. But not Kurasame or Ignis, because they are Imperil immune, which I thought was really funny.
2 of the 3 call options, so a significant amount of your potential HP damage up sources just killed right off the bat, which is pretty hilarious, I think.
Yeah, no, I thought that was really funny. I actually, earlier today, tried to get a run with Aerith to work, and it might work if I choose a better team, but the team I picked wasn't good.
There is somebody in main court who cleared an Aerith run. I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick, but I won't look very hard. But I do know the Aerith clear exists, and your other main options for the orb are Cinque. Obviously, can solo handle the orb because she applies the HP damage up on every attack that she does, as long as the stun stacks are there. So she's a great choice. I think Agrias was very popular with her Fated Moly, and Agrias in general has a lot of good things for this fight. And then some of the lesser used but still possible characters would be Dark Knight Cecil. I've seen a couple runs with him, mostly in the turn stealer route where you kind of just dump Dark Knight's LDs and then you swap them out for a friend and like you go to town with Titus or Terra or something like that.
I might have to steal that idea. That just sounds like a ton of fun, I'll be honest. I did something similar next step and it just was like, yeah, no, this is great. Why haven't I been swapping a Dark Knight Cecil before?
Honestly,
and I have.
He seems like a fun character. He's before my time, so I never really had a chance to get him, but the runs I see with him do look cool.
Yeah, no, when his EX Plus came out, I wasn't playing the game, so when I came back, I heard people talking about how fun he was, but I was like, this is nothing to me. All I know is he kills himself. But after his LD dropped, I was like, oh, this guy, he's actually really... Dark Knight Cecil's pretty fun to play, I gotta say.
I think Arrow in chat uses KC a lot in like non-launch teams, which is pretty cool. Those runs were always fun for me to watch.
So, the great Jemmy, the great Jemmy. Well, thank you either way. Thank you for the follow. Always great to have a new face around here. We hope you enjoy. Welcome to the live stream. Raw, I hope you're sitting up straight there. You're not on camera, which is unusual for us, but we have a posture check there, so make sure you're sitting upright.
Yeah, so normally we have another co-host with us who is actually able to be seen with a webcam, but he is sick from some football cheering, so we're giving him the week off. He's on the IR, and hopefully his posture is looking good.
Howdy, C-Sam. Good to see you. Folks showing up late. It's okay, though. We're good. We're glad to have you here. So, Zoe, tell me, this terrible gator fight, which I hate, and will probably not run again unless I have to. What did you do here?
So, I have done one run, but I'm going to go on a limb here and say I've technically done 2 runs because I was helping Mino as a little backseat driver on the TCC stream last night. So my personal run was Cinque, obviously, because I always got to test the new Type 0 characters as soon as they come in Synergy. Usually I wait for characters, but not for Cinque. And Cinque does fantastic in this fight. I ran her with Aphmau and Agrias. So the basic premise behind this team is that you pop Agrias' Fated Moly and then you just kind of go to town. I think I gave the bosses about 5 turns each. Not very many, because if you keep pulling Cinque up, her delays actually make a difference rather than just keeping their turns consistent with Cinque's turn. And when Aphmau does that, her LD is a double delay if you have the stun stacks on, so I pushed them really far back, and I ran a Laguna Call for a nice 50% speed down, so those guys got sent to the Shadow Realm in the end, and I had a I had a Unifriend for the last 50%. I swapped out Aphmau when Cinque was done with her LDs, so it went pretty smooth. I had the synergy characters, so I didn't have as tough of a time as I might have without Cinque. Who did you run?
Before I get to that, just a quick shout out to the stream. There's some activity there, but I want to shout out Cross13 who's in the stream, who's begun doing the Historia Crux live stream on YouTube every Tuesday at, I want to say 8 p.m. Eastern time. Cross, correct me if I'm wrong on that one. I forget what time you guys start at, but he's going to be dropping the link in the chat, and I'll be including that in the description. They also have they have some good times there, and I've enjoyed listening to them. I haven't been able to listen to the whole thing like everyone yet, but it's some good energy. It's some good folks talking DFFOO. Who doesn't like some good DFFOO? Yes, 8 p.m. Eastern time.
8 p.m. is correct, and yeah, it's really fun. I've been to a couple of them myself. Big fan.
So, yeah. And as for who I brought, after slamming my face against it, trying to get some kind of loosely defensive team through, I was, Warrior of Light, Xset, this, that, the other thing. I decided screw it, and I ran Setzer, Strago, and Sabin, and it worked like a charm. It turns out Setzer really is just tremendous in this fight for a number of reasons. One, he counters the reductions pretty much instantaneously, which is awesome. And howdy, VL. Good to see you. VL in the chat. Everybody go follow
Sism,
VL on
what's up,
YouTube if you
dude?
haven't.
Thanks for coming.
And another thing, funny thing about Setzer is his freeze debuff is 3 turns, which is exactly as many turns as their crazy red berserker phase. So like if you time it right, you can just freeze lock out all of their scary phases, which is great defensive utility on top of him just helping you cap damage the whole fight. So I just had a great time zero turning those terrible gators and laughing all the way to the bank.
Honestly, Setzer's kit itself has been pretty impressive to me. I think that like the freeze is incredible, and he's still got the party HP damage up and stuff. So I feel like he carries his weight more than I expected him to. Besides the rainbows, which I was kind of just expecting him to sit there and, plop the funny numbers down and do that. But he's a really cool unit to see. I don't have him, but to see other people use. I like the Setzer runs.
Yeah, no, that was kind of my discovery because I've always liked Setzer. I missed his EX because it came out after I started, the usual story for me. But I had him when he had his 35, and I enjoyed using him because he was a lot of fun. And then the LD came out, and everyone's like, no, rainbows, 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 and I'm like, yeah, rainbows, okay, rainbows, let's do this. So I picked him up for the rainbows, but I also kind of had in the back of my head this thought of like, I wonder if he's still as fun as he used to be, and it turns out he's even more fun, which is crazy, just because it's decision points. It's having to, similar to what I was saying with Zidane in terms of like you have choices presented to you. He brings several different Stark utilities, kind of like Beatrix or Agriet. Well, okay, Agriet's just one utility, it's paralyzed, but there's several ways to do it. But I love how with Setzer you can do the red card delay, you can do the freeze. His EX is up really often, so if you're going for more longevity, you can use the EX more often. You can pump the brakes in the EX if you don't want to. And of course, the rainbows are they're shiny, they're great, they're beautiful. You can see them now on stream because Raw Life is bringing a very, I don't know if he's got this, man. He's bringing a team of Zidane, Porm, and Setzer. Zoe, do you think he's going to be able to pull this off?
Gonna be tight. We'll have to see if he is using his breaks properly with Zidane, because we have seen some miscues with break potential with a certain mage child that we will not name on this podcast. So let's see how this goes for him in the background. The other run I ran, sort of ran with Mino. It's fun to tease him when he can't fight back. Man. This is the best. It's like beating up a child right now.
Normally, despite the fact that my mic tends to be louder than you guys, normally Raw Life is the loudest of the three of us within the Discord call. You and I are pretty soft-spoken, so he tends to kind of tower over us vocally. So him being able to do nothing more than use caps lock at us is very refreshing, I gotta say.
It's a beautiful shift in the usual power dynamic, and I'm looking forward to my hostile takeover of the stream where we cut him out completely and take his equity.
It's happening. Sorry. You never should have given us the keys to the house. We've locked the doors. So, what were we saying? We were talking about Setzer being awesome. He is. He's great. Feels a little sad to do that now that his banner is passed. Would have loved to talk in the moment, but he much like Porum, was one of those characters where the value showed up for me, and I think for a lot of players, after the banner passed, and after a little while after he showed up, because it's like, okay, well, you don't need Brave gain up right now. You don't need rainbow numbers to clear content right now. And now it's like, okay, you don't need them, but you'll feel it when you use them. They help in a very significant way now.
Looks like Raw is pretty close to dying to the orb.
Did the man not bring his Gabranth call?
Got your HP damage up? There it is.
I can only assume he's talking madly. You need to deal them HP damage with an HP damage debuff on them.
Alright, so I would make sure you hit B here, and then you should be good to go. There he goes. Alright. We're in business for saving the early wipe.
Hello, Mango D Cheese. Good to see you tonight. Hope you're having a good evening, or a good, what's the word? Morning. So, great, Gemmy? I'm gonna need you to clarify whether it's Gemmy or Jemmy, because I'm gonna say that
we're gonna
we're gonna need a pronunciation guide
every
at some
single
point.
time. So,
but yes, to answer your question, Seador is currently in the game. He'll be coming back in a few months, I think, and Ursula will be releasing as well. I believe at the moment they're the only. I mean, technically speaking, Kane and Cecil and all of them are in the game too. But I know that's not what you're asking about here. Those are the only two After Years exclusive characters who are in the game. Although many of the original Final Fantasy IV casts are in the game, and they've translated over.
Yeah, so Ursula comes in about 4 months-ish, give or take. Might be a little less than that, and then Sador's Burst is a little further away into the C90 area, but they both come back and they both get good kits, so you'll be able to pick them up if you don't have them.
Yeah, pretty cool to see another After Years fan in the chat. Not that I am one. I'm more speaking to the other two of you that are out there, and I have a lot of respect for the folks who champion and enjoy the more obscure Final Fantasy titles.
All 6 of them, yeah. It's good to have the underdog games, the Type Zeros, the After Years, the Crystal Bearers, all kind of fighting each other in DFFOO. It's real fun.
I have to say, basically nearly every Crystal Bearers fan I've encountered has been just a tremendously pleasant person to interact with. I've had a ton of very positive interactions with the Crystal Bearers fans.
Looks like some violence going on in chat. Some girl trying to ban Raw Life for poor Lufenia play. Seems pretty in character for both of them. What else do we have to say about this fight?
Well, I don't think there's much more to be said about the fight itself. So there was a topic I wanted to bring up because I was listening to the TCC podcast post show, and if you guys, for those of you who are in the chat who haven't seen it before, listen to the TCC podcast every Thursday night at 9 p.m. They start at 9 p.m. Eastern, I believe. But they're also available on YouTube and on all of your podcast apps because they're an actual podcast. Unlike us, we are a live stream. But they were I was catching some flack because I blued Golbez, and I gotta say, I had a great time using this guy for 3 months. The blue probably wasn't necessary, but I got to use him longer than I expected him to, and I expect the blue played into that. So Zoe, I know you've blued a fair number of people. What are your thoughts on how blue should be used? I'd like to hear about that.
Blue armor, interesting. My thoughts on blue armor are that it's never needed for content, so it's just for extending the life of your favorites, is how I view it. I would personally, unless you're really struggling or you're newer to the game, not be bluing purely for power reasons. Unless you like doing that stuff, which is totally fine, but you don't need to ever. So I have blued every cadet that has come out, which I think has been... Gosh, has it been 8 of them with Cinque? It might be. And then I've also blued Agrius because I like her, and Shantoto because I like her and I'm a greener. So I've done 10 blues total, which is quite a lot. I don't think most people have done as many as I have. I've converted an ungodly amount of tokens into ingots, probably over 200. It's
and you didn't even start at the very beginning of blue, so there's some early events that you missed out on token wise. Jesus, that is a lot of...
Oh, okay, for Lufenia tokens, yeah. For blue armors, I was there at the beginning, but for Lufenia tokens, I did miss quite a few early Lufenias that are not permanent content, so I didn't have quite as big of a stash as most people. I think I have 150 or 160 right now, so I'm doing okay, and it's you don't need that many, because you only need 1 new character usually per banner.
So I was going to ask, at this point, with 10 blues, how many, about how many... Let's say, hypothetically, you were going to spend all of your blue resources right now to blue other characters on your roster. How many characters could you blue at the moment based on your stash, roughly?
Oh, lordy. I think I could do 3 more total. If I spent literally all my tokens and books and stuff, I think I could do 3 more.
Yikes.
Because I have the book lined up for Ace, who is my only blue in the foreseeable future, and then I can finally start recuperating those resources, and then I think I'm gonna try and get enough for Cloud of Darkness, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that on their BT Plus release, or if I'll have to wait a little bit without really dipping into my stash. So I can kind of chill out for the next couple months, because I think 8 is my next blue besides that, and he is pretty far in the future, so I'll be chilling for a while. A lot of the Type 0 ones got front-loaded really early into the like late Lufenia, early Lufenia Plus era. So it just like kind of happened all at once for me. How are your blues doing?
My blues are doing okay. I've been pretty. I'd say I'd fall into kind of the middle of the pack in terms of how I've been spending. I also, chat is getting absolutely lit up here, and by lit up I mean Raw Life is just having a bit of a breakdown here.
Please, the man is
we're
already
having a lovely
having a
conversation
sick
about Blue
time
Armor.
with his throat. Don't kill him for this too.
I know he's doing his best. I know he's doing his best.
Sabin6 in chat has blued, looks like every FF6 blue, along with Tifa and Ishtola, so pretty in character for a username. I like that.
Makes sense. I think I'm sitting at about, I want to say 6, possibly 7. I think, yeah, no, it was 6 blues, and then I think, no, yeah, 6 blues at this point. Possibly 7, which feels like on middle to maybe higher end of kind of what I expect for folks. Yeah, I know our mod Some Girl has been very blue happy just as well. At least, honestly, it might not be that. It might just be that she uses a lot of the units she blued, which is appropriate, and so it feels like she's blued a lot of units. I don't know if that makes sense, but that does kind of tie into. Oh yeah, it's Mog is getting blue armor soon, so Sabin6 is loving it and is ready.
I'm sure you'll be able to get Mog to carry you for the Sid Reigns Lufenia. That'll go well.
I mean, you're anyway. I'm not gonna touch that. I believe. You know what? If your username is Sabin6, I say blue that mug and enjoy it because you've earned it.
Always blue the faves.
Yeah,
I would say like 4 to 5 blues is probably the average I would see, just from like if you were to pull everybody and like plot it on a bar graph. I feel like the median would be between 4 and 5.
So here's my feeling on blue, and I feel like we're probably in pretty similar boats because I think there are different ways to look at it. It raises the cap for your unit. It makes it so they can stretch a bit harder, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, in general, whether or not you blue a unit is only going to make a difference if you're already kind of on something of not a razor's edge, but pretty close to one. I feel. I don't think that,
it needs to be a tight margin for the blue itself to be the breaking point where you make turns or not. I think is like a good way to say that. And usually they're just going to be win more buttons.
Yeah, so like if you blue Setzer, it's going to definitely improve your Setzer. But I feel like the difference between a run featuring blue Setzer and a run featuring no blue Setzer the difference is going to come down to his partners more than to him, And so I kind of view the blue armor, similar to how you do, as a way of enhancing a unit's longevity. And some units are going to take advantage of it better than others. I blued Strago and have been laughing about that all the way to the bank ever since it happened. That's one of the best blues I've ever made. I also blew Bart's because I have a Final Fantasy V fetish apparently, and paying for that. And that not a great choice. Probably shouldn't have done that, but some things just you got to do. Some things you got to kind of do to be true to yourself. And so the one consideration then is we're in this new era, and we knew this new era was coming. Should we have saved more resources to blue more units for this era? And I'd like to hear your thoughts about that before I share my own thoughts.
So I think it just depends on, once again, personal comfort. Your own account is your own, and you don't need to like follow the typical path, but some units are better blue candidates than others, which is something that if you're bluing favorites, you might be bluing armors that aren't super effective. I think that Bart is a good example of a very powerful unit who pretty much sees extremely minor changes, even if you blew him all the way out and max him. So there is something to be said about saving your blues for units you see how they carry in Lufenia Plus and whether they can hit those caps or not consistently, but my philosophy of blues has always been just to give them to the units I like, because in some cases it will improve them, even if it's not by a lot, and even if it's like not for now, you can also think of it as a future investment on your faves for the next tuning pass. And just like, again, because blues are never required for content, I don't think they're as high of a risk of an investment as some people like to think. As long as you're going to use the character you blew, then I guess I lean towards the more liberal side of giving them out. Does that line up with you, or are you a little more conservative with them?
I think we're on the same wavelength, because my feeling on it is that, like you said, the blue isn't going to be the difference maker in the run unless it's a run that is kind of already stretching itself. And in that case, it's probably something like, I imagine you're probably under the circumstances where it's a challenge run. It's you're trying to get your favorite through through a Lufenia state plus or something like that. And in that case, it's not the bluing the optimal unit is what's going to get you there. It's CSAM makes a funny point that I was actually thinking about, so I'm glad he said it out loud too. Bluing is
nobody capping.
Yeah, no one's capping at this point, so it's kind of pointless anyway. But putting that aside for the moment, just to speak kind of in theoreticals here, saving blues for you're not bluing a unit isn't going to make the difference in clearing content. It might make the difference in completing a challenge run, but it's not going to stop you from clearing content. Pulling units is going to help you clear content. Greening units may help you clear content. Bluing a unit is going to help improve your margin. And if your margin was so slim that that's the difference maker, I think there's bigger fundamental issues. It's similar to spheres, just on a bigger scale, I think.
Yeah, so definitely.
Similar to spheres, with I think they give a bigger return than spheres. I mean, the difference between blue and non-blue Strago is there. But if you're asking, should I blue Strago or something like that? Should I blue Zidane or Y'shtola? I mean, if you have their BT plus, probably, because you're committing to using them a whole lot. But you should be bluing units who you intend to use for a whole lot of time to maximize that longevity, because you enjoy the unit or because you really want to rely on the unit. And by the time the blue is the thing making the difference, I feel like at that point, the thing that is keeping you playing that character isn't their power. It is now the fact that you enjoy playing that character. At that point, they're a favorite. So I think really this is a really roundabout way to defend the whole idea of you should be bluing your favorites, not bluing your meta characters. You should be bluing the favorites because the meta characters will be sitting on their own. They don't need the blue to continue sustaining themselves, unless you want to use that meta character to carry a bunch of other favorites. That's another discussion. Yeah, the short version is, fuck you guys. I blew Golbez and I was happy with it.
Yeah, Blart set up that entire segment just so he could clap back.
Anyway, I'm sure I'm going to get ruined for this because they're both the folks involved are way better at arguing than I am. But there it is. It's out there.
Got to take some debate courses in university real quick to sign up. You can do it.
You say that, but I mean, at the end of the day, if I get flamed by a bunch of dudes on the internet, I'll live. I have a good job, a good wife I'm happy with, and a cat that is still staring at me about the what is it? TOTSUGEKI! I did. Oh God,
That's number 2.
That was number 3. I snuck one in here.
TOTSUGEKI!
Oh, Jesus
no,
Christ.
Don't do it. Oh, no. Oh God.
TOTSUGEKI!
He's undone all of the healing that has happened over the course of the stream just to do that.
TOTSUGEKI!
I'm gonna kick you from the call. Actually, no, I can't kick you from the call or else we lose our audio, so that's a bad idea, but I'm gonna server mute you. Okay, he's gone. We have saved Raw Life's throat, hopefully. I don't know. He might have put himself in the hospital for a week. Aurelius Marcus, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the live stream. He was screaming at a football game, Mango, so he has been riding high on the Wake Forest geeks. As you can see, about every 5 minutes in chat, he won't shut up about it, so you'll see that probably 10 more times this stream, if I'm guessing. But yeah, blue armors are for fun. You never need them. Go for broke on them, I think. And
honestly, the only blue armor I really regret at this point is kind of Queen, because I like Queen, but she's not. I wouldn't call her a favorite. Characters like Golbez or like Edward, who I blued, and both of those are characters where I've caught some flack about that. I use them a ton, and anytime I can use them, I'm going to try to use them. Queen I use because I think she's very powerful and reasonably fun to play, not because I'm like, oh, Queen, I gotta use Queen here, which I know is a different case for you. So that's it. That's my rant on blues, designed to fill time while Raw kills his way through. How's this going? We're at 68% on both of them. They have been just... I feel like there's been a lot of discussion going on. Oh
yeah, there's been some heated gameplay discussion. I don't know. Do we have fixed dice up right now, or is it just kind of sitting there with the battery?
I mean, it's hard. It's impossible to say. Although I'm appreciating the synergy there with Porum setting up the brace for Zidane, and then of course Setzer making Zidane hit for maximum break damage. Like the synergy here, and I don't mean like the the boosted stat. I mean,
boost. You mean like the normal way the word works?
The normal actual synergy is just tremendous, and Raw's team building is unparalleled. Just don't. Yeah, I'm not going to tell him how to play the game. I'm just admiring it for now.
Yeah, we're totally all big Sandor fans here. Definitely haven't forgotten about him as a character.
I actually remember this. Aurelius Marcus, were you the one who I believe it was you, left a comment on one of my videos because I made a I made a jab at Seodor during Yuna's cycle. I forget which fight it was. Probably the Yuna fight itself. But
probably all of them, because he was tough to make work for those fights. God damn.
Yeah, I made a passing comment, and I believe our buddy Aurelius took some umbrage with that, and And in fairness, I usually try to be nice and play it cool, so it was kind of a bad time thing where the character I decided to take a pot shot at happened to be a favorite. So sorry about that, Aurelius. Nothing personal. I want Seodor to be good. I believe in him. I view him much like the kind of secondary character who's being mentored, kind of like I don't want to make a weeb reference, but like Simon and Gurren Lagann, who he's gonna step up and kind of grab the future, and I love that kind of character. So I want his BT to be awesome, and I want him to grow into a big, strong boy, because right now he's not quite there yet.
Well, he will grow with Kane's tutelage and his BT+, and that's only in the middle of garbage time, so he'll be great for cleaning up some easy fights. It's tough when your BT releases during the lull before the storm, so to speak, but that's okay.
Yeah. It's a funny thing. Something I've had a thought that I've been meaning to say somewhere. The term garbage time has popped up here and there, and there was some confusion at first because folks didn't realize that it's a sports term referring to the time at the end of a blowout game where you can where the winning team can safely just kind of send their worst players out to kind of get some experience and just kind of play the game without having to waste their kind of best players on it. It's not an actual term meaning like in the literal garbage or anything like that. I thought it was a bold choice by Mino Spellgood and Mark and the rest of the gang who propagated that term to assume that the DFO community on the whole is into the sports, because a bunch of you guys are goddamn introverted nerds.
Yeah, there might be a pretty low percentage for these sports metaphors, but Machamp is my waifu. Interesting name. Has a very good question. Are there any really must-have LGBT pluses in the pre-90 era? So, pre-90, I would say that this is the more important time to spend your resources to have an easier time with these fights. It kind of depends what you're looking for, really, but the team of Aphmau, Sid Reigns, and Bartz is kind of the tried and true suggestion for people who want to metastomp, because they work in almost every fight and can orb race and just ignore things through flat-out damage. But other than that, who are some upcoming characters you would hype, Blart?
I mean, Ace, of course, is considered very good. One of the reasons he's considered very good is because one of the big bogeyman fights that we're going to have to deal with is going to be Divine Shiva, and Ace is extremely good in Divine Shiva because his traps trigger during their freeze attacks. Not to get into the fight, I don't know. I'm not super into the details at this point, but basically, they do the Shiva thing where they freeze you, and then you spend a zillion turns being frozen, and it sucks, and eats into your turn count and your buffs and everything. But Ace's traps tick during that. I mean, your damage stays consistent, which is pretty great. So Ace is good for that.
Ace is very high on most JP players' lists of power level for greenings, so he is somebody I would not miss if you're interested in that. Oron is very good. Who else is kind of hyped? Final Mog, thank you for the follow. Welcome.
So I've heard a lot of good things about Layla, but in the context of at the point she comes out in, the content doesn't require her. It's similar to a Porum Setzer thing, I think, where
yeah, Layla is. Sorry, you go first.
Where she's kind of busted, but she's busted in such a way that you don't need the other characters carry content fine without her in the party, but as content gets more difficult, she's going to start showing her she's really going to start stepping up, and the people who have her are going to be man, I'm glad I have access to this broken unit.
Yeah, so Layla and Rem are two characters I think could be really powerful in the new difficulty because they have incredible turn manipulation. Layla especially because she provides a lot of party utility with her dodge counters, and right now she's complete overkill. She gives the party so many free turns that you will finish like sub 10 turns on a lot of the Lufenia pluses with her, and you absolutely don't need to because there's a lot of powerful characters right now. Yeah, Fran does have a very good debuff. A lot of people use her as a call, I believe, but she's fine as in Party 2. Scrolling through the timeline really quick, because I don't have, like, picture-perfect memory of everybody who's releasing... Oh, Lena is a huge one. Lena's incredible.
Oh god, Lena, I forgot about... Yeah, they're... yeah, Lena, very, very good. I mean, it's kind of weird to say. I guess, in terms of the pre... I gotta be completely honest, I have not had a whole lot of time to do a whole lot of research into the immediate future, so I've kind of earmarked certain characters like, these are the ones I'm gonna go for, and I'm probably not gonna talk about it a whole lot, but Sid Reigns, Lena, Auron, because I think counter tanks are always a good thing to have.
I don't think most new LDs are ever bad in this era, just some of them might be easier to use than others, but there aren't really duds coming out recently other than returning characters who might not get a lot, so pretty much any of your favorites.
Want to shout out,
thank you for the gift sub.
Gifting it to Some Girl, our beloved mod, so that just the community outreach here, the community involvement, engagement is just tremendous. We love you guys. We appreciate all the support, as always, because you don't need to be doing this. You don't need to be hanging out with us nerds on a Monday night. You have places to be. You have beds to sleep in, dinners to make, but you're going to spend your time with us, and that means a lot to us because we enjoy seeing you. Well, metaphorically, we don't actually see you, and you don't see us except for Raw Life when he's on stream, which he's not right now because he shouted way too hard while he was tailgating. That's what it's called, right? It's been a while. Jesus.
I would say the saving era does start pretty soonish, but if you want to go for a little more pulls for some synergy in the tougher Lufenia Plus fights, I think that's a good option too. So C90 is when I would say the biggest saving should come, in my opinion, but it really just depends on what your roster needs and who you have already, so it's up to the person.
Yeah, and Some Girl paying it forward, gifting a tier 1 to Trey Day 17, who is just spectacular.
Great streamer. I caught one of my first Trade Day stream a couple days ago. Divine, Bahamut, and JP. Real fun stuff. Ooh, question from Blart.
Aurelius asking if I've gotten X-Death through the latest Lufenia Plus. You're referring to the Guy Lost chapter. I haven't yet. I gave it a shot, but haven't had a whole lot of time to really dig into it. So I have some theories as to what I'm going to do to try to make it work, but I haven't gotten to make it happen yet. I'm hoping to get it there because I think it's a weird thing where I feel like he has some really great characteristics to make it work, but I also feel like there's some issues he's going to have to overcome to get through it. So I'm not 100% sure if it'll happen, but I'm gonna give it a shot. Have you had any luck with it?
I assume you're talking to Aurelius and not me, because I did not get X-Death BT, and LD only X-Death is not my favorite character to play, to be honest. I'm a little disappointed with the LD only. I think the BT really ups his mileage for the kind of teams I would run him in, but that's another thing about my playstyle. I really like the rush teams other than Lockdown, which also doesn't need X-Death styles of mitigation. So Crispy, thanks for the follow. Welcome.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of coping pretty hard on XFLD right now. There are certain the thing is, when he shows up in a really unique and good way. Like, he was an MVP in the Medusa fight, which is one of the most toxic fights we've had relative to, at the time it was in. There are similar fights where like he was fantastic in the Eldmarsh raid. Like, he sometimes shows up and just really good, but it's very weird because he brings very specific things that are often not what you need, and it's why honestly you probably shouldn't pull for him. But I mean, here I am, and this is where I'm at.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, he seemed like a BT token target if you really wanted to use X-Death and Luf Plus.
The problem I had is I didn't pull Porum because I don't believe in child labor, and so I think it's wrong morally, ethically. I don't believe in it. and so I didn't pull Porum.
Maybe that's why I don't use Palums, because I'm worried about the ethics. I didn't get Porum, but I did get the brother, so...
If
I
you
used
ever
him...
did post a Palom run, I would report you to the authorities.
Okay,
because I wouldn't want to
good
get caught up in that since we're on this.
I think I did say I beat up children on this stream, so this might not be the best look for me, so... I will keep Palom safely on the bench, far, far, far out of harm's way.
Also, as a shout out to Crispy Gaming, who's just started following us. Crispy, welcome, and I'm glad. I've been following Crispy in DFFOO for at least a month. I feel like it's been a while. I added him a while back, just kind of ran. So I think we co-opted or something. I was like, "Oh, Crispy, there he is!" And he finally added me back. So we're now officially friends, and I'm feeling great. I actually feel a whole lot better. Thank you, Crispy.
It's just like a romance movie. After such a long time apart, you finally found each other and completed the DFFOO friendship.
It's beautiful. Really. I'm tearing up.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. What else have I done with Lufenia Plus so far? Oh, I don't think I ever got to it. I did do a run with Mino last night, where I kind of was snarky while Mino actually played the game, and I had some bits to say, but we ran Eldnarsh, Core, and Setzer, which worked incredibly well until Mino's emulator crashed. So while we didn't get the screenshot, I think some girl ran the same team possibly, or no, she ran no Setzer. She ran Queen instead of Setzer, but Eldnarsh's lockdown is actually very powerful for this fight if you can get around his pretty mediocre damage. So there's like some options. I think I'm going to try an Arciella run, because the cool thing about Eld and Arciella for this fight, did Ross game crash again?
Outstanding.
It has been a tough couple days for BlueStacks lately. Wow, it's just crashing all over the place.
This is just Jesus.
Sephiroth was unfortunately sent you to Supernova for did I do that reference right? I actually haven't met Sephiroth. I'm playing FF7 on the stream. I'll probably do my second run this weekend.
Yeah, no, that was the correct way to reference that game, as you will see as you get further into it. That was definitely right. You did it.
Perfect. Okay. I'm such a good Final Fantasy fan. Just the absolute most knowledgeable. I played all the games. But yeah, Core and Setzer together, the double rainbow combo, very powerful stuff. And Core and the Eldnarsh are a known duo from the Lufenia era, where Eldnarsh can lock the enemies into all attacks, which will give Core the double follow-ups, which means more Reaper scales, which means more of a good time. So that was a very fun team that we got them to like 20%, I think, with like a 25 or 30 turn count. So counting that as a win, and I think Mino might have done it off stream or something. So that was a cool team. There's been some fun stuff. I know Sism did a Terra run. There's some other ones I want to shout out. Let me go to the TCC server, which if you're not there, join that, because it's a great place to talk about the game, get some help if you need it. I think most people in this chat probably are there already, so...
Yeah, I think there might be some folks who would be new to it. So those of you who aren't, feel free to stop on by. We always enjoy seeing some new faces in the chat, or in the Discord. Shoutouts to Mark and Mino of the Crystal Chronicles podcast, hosts of the TCC Discord, which is, of course, Black Cloud's official Discord. Yeah,
it's the BC server, because every Wednesday night we get a stream of new recruits from the ranting hour. John Belmont got Cloud in with Ishtola, Green, and Porum. That's a cool one.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Cloud, dang.
A couple Leon runs. Leon's pretty cool for neutering these guys because they don't have any HP attacks that are elemental. Only the brave hits, like the Aqua Tornado, I think is water, which would... I hope it's water. I hope they didn't make it like ice or something stupid.
Jesus.
Zac with Dark Knight Cecil, Sarah, and Titus. That's another cool one. There's that Dark Knight Cecil run. I knew it was doable with some turn stealers. What did you guys run in the chat? How was your Guy Lost Chapter experience? Because this was the first like hard fight with the numbers being crunched down.
I'd like to hear how folks experience this fight, especially because I've been underground and haven't been able to actually look at the runs, basically. So let's get some interaction here. Share your experiences with us so we can discuss it and hear about it and talk about it, and talk about how cool you guys are.
Runs Lufenia Plus. He used him with Porum and the done, I believe. So Guy does speak Lufenia Plus. We weren't lying in our title. Warrior of Light, Porum, and Core from Mango. That's pretty cool. I haven't seen any other wool runs.
That's pretty. Yeah, I think Warrior of Light's probably pretty good here. It's interesting because they kept the mechanic from the original event, which is that they lower your party's imp brave, I think in the red stance or something, which is intended to be like, no, don't use Warrior of Light, use Guy. It's his event. Use Guy instead of Warrior of Light. But I think Warrior of Light still just works, you know?
Yeah, I mean, seems like it. Especially with Porum having the backup HP damage reduction if something goes wrong. Seems like a pretty powerful team.
I was trying to do. I tried doing. Jesus, it was a terrible team. It was Warrior of Light, Kieran, and Aerith, and it was not doing the damage it needed to.
So my latest attempt was a super cracked team of Terra, Jack, and Agrius, and try and do an XFBT stuff. But I think I need to either optimize my calls a little bit because excess poison is only about 50,000, 55,000 in that team because there's not many attack auras. So I was trying to just like take all the turns, but I kind of messed up my Jack orders on one of them, and I might just run Jack with like an actual support in XDeath and see if that works better. So that's gonna be my little
So
pet project, I think, over the next couple days.
yeah, that'd be interesting. Jack's turn jumping isn't the kind of same consecutive sort of thing that you normally think for that. So I'd be curious to see how many turns you're able to get
Yeah,
to kind of do that.
my plan is like to do lightning flash to break them out of order so I can keep deliverance jumping in front of them and then
Oh
do
my
the ninja
god,
slashes on the off turn. So it's pretty big brained, but I don't know if the damage numbers are gonna make it. Maybe with a different character, like
that's
instead of Terra, because I was thinking like, oh, double turn stealers. That sounds fun because I don't have Titus, so I could just do like a normal Terra run, but that's been done by a few people already, and I kind of like to try and do stuff that hasn't been done unless it's like a really fun team or like Aphmo Cinque, which is a pretty obvious pairing for this fight, but I had to run it to get the full Cinque experience on her synergy fight. So
yeah,
yeah, I
of
might try an
course.
Arciela run too, because Arciela does tick the orb.
Yeah. Oh goodness, yeah, she does, doesn't she? I'd
She
forgotten about
does,
that.
and Eldritch does too, which is kind of why Mino and I were thinking about him originally.
Yeah. No, I thought about Eldritch myself, and then I saw some girl posted the Eldritch one. And I was like, well, you know, this the master's already accomplished it. What am I getting to offer
Yeah,
here?
all the Eldritch fans are quick to use him if he's ever good for a fight, or even usable for a fight. Yep, Sky Splits was queen. So many saga runners.
Yeah. So I think we're about ready to wrap this up. We've been kind of rolling around for a while.
Yeah, we've just been having a good time with chat. They're like, with two people, it's a little harder to keep the conversation going sometimes. It was fun practice.
Yeah, well, that's why you guys in chat are here to keep us rolling, give us some fun stuff to talk about. Thank you for joining us. We're actually going to raid Ra's friend Jacob Lilly. So if you want to jump on over there with us, we can go and give them a little boost, say hello, and I don't know, talk shit. I don't. What do you do in your raid? So I got it right. We will. What is it? Burn the women, rape the crops, and steal the houses. Is that it? I forget.
Oh wow, that is certainly one way to discuss a raid. And thank you so much for coming.
Adios.
Goodbye. Okay, are we? Oh my god! Did that not get on air?
Thank God.
That was really rough. Holy shit! Raw life with the save.
Was that intentional? Did you see that it was going somewhere bad, or was it just a coincidence?
I think that was a coincidence because he looked surprised that the raid happened so fast. Good lord.
Very much into it. It's really well played there.